and you'll let me know if has a little red light come on the top left of your screens?
Yes.
Hey, yes.
Great. Okay, in which case
Thank
we
you.
are recording. So what I'll do is reduce that, and we'll shoot off. Okay, so you all know my name. That's fine. So this is a training. Believe it or not, I put this together 28 years ago, just to show you that nothing really changes. It's been adapted, obviously, to incorporate the fact that in the last 28 years we've gone into the modern age and we have the internet and all that sort of thing. But and the last time I updated it was on the 14th of January 2021. So I suppose the important thing to say at the beginning is that everything we do in network marketing has got to duplicate from one person to another. So it's very, very important. So this training is very simple. It's the basics. And what I've always said about this business and always will is you earn while you learn. There really is no room in network marketing for people who want to know everything before they make their first call. The best thing is to go into it, take immediate action, and make mistakes. We've all done that. We've all been there, but it is the fastest way to build a team. And I will literally share with you what actions you need to take, but only after going through a few preliminary slides. And the first and most important is finding your reason for wanting to do network marketing as a business. The thing is that, you know, you're going to devote somewhere between 3, 5, 7 years to building a team that will give you the income that you seek. Now, what you seek might be different from what somebody else seeks. So I'm not going to quantify anything here. But in order to find your why, it's a very good idea to try and imagine what your life would be like completely if, say, every single month, MWR put, let's say, the gold 5 income, 15,000 US dollars, into your bank account every single month. So, you know, when I speak to people, they often tell me that the first month, if they had $15,000, they'd start paying off their debts or paying off their mortgage or, you know, things like that. And then I say, that's great. Now, what about the second month? And they say, well, you know, if they've got a very big mortgage, well, I keep paying off my mortgage now. I've now got rid of my credit card debts and everything else like that. So I say, yeah, well, what about the third month? And suddenly they begin to realize that this $15,000 is coming in every single month. And your business isn't really costing you much more than $100 or $200 a month. This is a large amount of disposable residual income. And you have to think about what you would do with it. Would you be living in the same house that you're living in? Would you be traveling more? Would you be giving money to charities? Would you be spending money on your children? Would you be setting up a college fund? Or it really depends on each person. Everyone is different. But the point is, you have to determine what that could do for you, because you know, with me, I was never looking for what I was going to spend money on because I always had money. I was just thinking, oh, you know, I'd have more time freedom. That was my why. And I knew what I wanted to do with that. I knew I wanted to travel, but I didn't want to travel necessarily to places with opera houses in them. So, you know, which was all the kind of travel I did. You know, I wanted to go to places like the Caribbean that don't have an opera house in them, or Bora Bora is on the top of my bucket list. You know, Tahiti, Fiji, all of those kind of places. They're all on my bucket list. I still want to do them. So your why is particular to you. And then ask yourself, because this is an activity business, why do people do things? And I don't know about you, but I've only ever found 2 reasons in the whole world why anybody does anything. They do things to gain pleasure, and they do things to move away from pain. And when you analyze it even further, the actual movement, that's created when you actually do something, because you're actually expending something called kinetic energy, is a movement away from pain and towards pleasure. And since the creation of Adam and Eve, there has never been anybody who ever went in the opposite direction. No one in life ever moved from pleasure to pain. It never happened. And this action, this activity of moving from pain to pleasure is this simple word that we use called to do. And one final point on this slide: people move away from pain much quicker than they move towards pleasure. And we're in a business where, in many ways, we have to motivate people, we have to get people moving. And a lot of people, especially when they're new, heap tons of weights on the pleasure side of the scale. But a really experienced professional in this business knows that it's much easier to talk to people's pain than it is to talk to their pleasure. And I remember when my friend showed this to me 30 years ago, he said the following 3 sentences to me, and I've never forgotten them. He said, "How long have you been running K Artist Management?" And I said, 17 years. And he said, "Can you afford to retire?" And I went, "No." And he said, "So if you did it for another 17 years, will you then be able to retire?" And there was this deathly silence as I began to feel physically ill. And what he'd done was he literally exposed me to my own pain. We have a wonderful way, we humans, of masking it all out, by being busy and by getting orders and by getting a contract and doing whatever it is, traveling somewhere but the days are going by, the weeks are going by, the months are going by, the years are going by. So, when you're talking to people, don't always tell them that we've got this wonderful thing, it's going to make them rich, it's going to do this. It doesn't work. Find out what's going on in their life and expose their pain. Just say, if you go on doing the same thing, you go on getting what you're getting. You see, when you analyze what's painful to most people, number one at the top of the list is always this one. They're just simply not making enough money. So their life is limited by the amount of disposable income they can make on a monthly basis. And a lot of people, most people, will tell you there's actually too much month at the end of the money, I think is the expression I heard some years ago. But if that is in fact the case, then yes, of course, yeah. If that is the case, sorry, I was slightly interrupted by Rosalind there, but I was asking if she could have a slice of my coffee and walnut cake that I made about 10 minutes ago. Anyway, people not making enough money is the number one thing that's painful to them. But then this one was the one that got me in. Time at work leaves you little or no time for important things. And I always maintain that the 2 ingredients that you need to mix together, just like making that coffee and walnut cake, the 2 ingredients of designing the perfect life are money and time freedom. And if you have those 2 ingredients in your life, you just design whatever it is you want. A lot of people have no clear direction. They're just existing from day to day. And they're doing something because they need to live or they need to exist, but they're not creating anything. And one of the things I love about network marketing is from the second you join, it gives you a very clear direction because there's a compensation plan and it plans the whole thing out for you. So you've got to ask yourself what will change. And this, of course, is what my friend did to me, because he pointed out one of the Albert Einstein comment that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and again and expecting a different result. But of course, that never happens. If you just keep doing what you're doing again and again, you always get the same result. So if people want to change what they're doing, then they need to change something. And that could be joining a network marketing business and building it. Finally, this little training I wrote 25 years ago, it's called Tony's Cross. And it's not in any way religious, I want you to know that. But it comes back to these 2 ingredients, these ingredients of money and time freedom. So, this is the ideal scenario, but there are 3 other scenarios. You could be like I was back 30 years ago, 1991, when I first started network marketing. I had money, but I had no time. You could be like the unemployed of the world. You could have no money, but you could have plenty of time. Or you could be like the vast majority of the world who are employed and have no money and no time. And the percentages of people around the world, 3% end up in box 1, 7% the business owners end up in box 2, 10% the unemployed end up in box 3, and a somewhat staggering 80% end up in box 4. So I just want to ask you all a question. Just need to see you for this. And that is, just put your hand up. Just tell me, you're on mute, so you can't tell me anything. Just put the number of fingers up relative to the box you'd like to be in. That's good. Well, I've been doing this training for 28 years, and I think only one person in all that time ever put a different number of fingers up. We just threw him up. So there's no point in being here. The thing is, what you need to understand about your network marketing vehicle, in this case, NWR, like a vehicle, you get in and you're going to drive it to a destination, and that takes time. The destination you're going to drive it to is box 1. So there you can see quite clearly on your screen the green arrows taking you from whichever box you're in today, could be 2, 3, or 4, on a journey to box 1. Word of warning, and watch this very carefully. If you ever decide to quit your network marketing business, this is what happens. Ready, get set. You just go back to where you came from, because network marketing is not a replacement for what you do. It's a bolt-on, it's an add-on to what you're already doing. And if you're anything like me, once I cracked the business and once I grew my first team, it started paying me 4 times more in my, what I used to term my silly little sideline business. It was paying me 4 times more than a business that had taken me 17 years to create. And then, of course, it was then I decided to take it much more seriously and begin to learn about it and begin to start to develop organizations. So that's really the preamble to new member training. So are you ready to get started? Are you ready to take some action? Yes? Great. Fantastic. Some of these things you may already have done. Let's have a look. You choose your membership, either pro or elite. I think most of you have done that. You register for the business. Most of you have done that. But interesting, if I just pop back to that, can you see how what your sponsor has been doing with you is a process of this training? They've encouraged you to choose your membership and you've registered for the business. That's all you can do to get started in the business. And then the first thing we need to teach you are the 3 unbreakable rules of network marketing. I was watching Harry Potter the other day when Professor Snape makes the unbreakable vow. And the unbreakable vow is, if you break it, you die. I thought, they should have something similar to that in network marketing. If you break these 3 rules, you obviously don't die, but you do as far as network marketing is concerned, as far as your dreams and as far as your business is concerned. So please watch these very carefully. The first rule, unbreakable rule of network marketing, is you need to pay attention. Now, what does that actually mean? What it means, everything that's going on is for your benefit. By paying close attention to the presentations, the trainings, and plugging into the team and plugging into the system, you'll learn everything you need to know. But when you take your eye off the ball, when you start missing meetings, missing trainings, missing this, missing that, you're no longer paying attention. And that will have a short, medium, and eventually long-term effect on your business. The second thing is, you might as well understand what you've got here, because it's pretty exciting. I talk in the presentation that we do that if, as a process of being in the business and working it for 5 or 7 years, your team eventually does the same and other people in their teams do the same, there's a kind of like inevitability of moving through the ranks all the way from silver 1 to diamond 5. That's all the way from $100 a month to a ridiculous amount of money a month. I think it's something like $45,000 a month. Anyway, it's $5.4 million a year. But it's a process of time and duplicating what's going on here. So there's a lot to get excited about. I mean, if you're really successful in network marketing, you can You can do things that most of us only dream about if we were going to win the Euro Millions lottery or something like that. And this one is really the one that really is. If you break this one, then of course you do die, or your business dies. You mustn't quit. And the reason we say this at the beginning is, it's not that we want to keep you in here forever. It's not about us, and it's all about you really, and the teams that you build. You're going to go through some emotional ups and downs. That there's no way you can avoid this. We're dealing with building teams of people. And often when I train, I talk about taking 3,000 people to an opera performance, say a performance of Don Giovanni at Covent Garden. And when 3,000 people come out at the end, they give me 3,000 different opinions. But the one thing that remained constant in all of that was the performance itself. It was the same. So in network marketing, when we're showing people what we do, it's like taking them to that performance of Don Giovanni. Everyone's going to give you a different opinion. So the first thing you need to get used to is that that's just what people are like. It's nothing to do with you. It's not to do with who did the presentation. It's not to do with how good it was. And it's not to do with who said what to whom. It's merely people telling you who they are once they've seen what this has to offer. You see, the one thing's for sure, if you asked everybody what they wanted in life, it would boil down to those two ingredients I told you earlier. They want plenty of money and they want plenty of time freedom. Now, network marketing can provide that. Not all network marketing companies can provide that. Believe you me, they are not all born equal. But if you've got something that embraces a market as big as travel, which is $8 trillion, is well run by Yoni Ashurov, has a simple compensation plan, and is destined to grow amongst the legion of network marketing companies out there, well, then you have certainly the potential to achieve whatever it is you want and to pass that on to other people. So having offered them everything they want, all they then do is turn around and tell you who they are. So what I'm trying to help you guard against is, pulling your hair out, going through the emotional roller coaster, crying your eyes out, jumping up and down for joy, all of those sort of things. Our job is very simple, and we're going to cover that in the next few slides. Our job is about Our job is about putting into practice the system and then teaching others how to do the same thing. So I'm going to keep the system very simple. So ask yourself this question. It's a very, very powerful question. Can 10,000 people in your sixth generation do what you are doing? Think about that very carefully. Imagine you've got a network, 10,000 people, of them are in your sixth generation. And if you do something, it's because you want the 10,000 people to do it. You see, if they can do it, if they can, then do it. But if they can't, don't do it. You just don't do it. I had an example of that today with somebody asked me whether I would do a completely new presentation for one person who couldn't come to the ordinary presentations. And I thought to myself, could 10,000 people in my sixth generation re-record a presentation because some prospect wasn't able to make it to the recorded presentations? And I thought, no, that's never going to work. So I just said no. But the point is that, everything we do has got to be really simple and really duplicable. So I'm going to show you what duplicates and what works. And the first thing we all have to do, and this has been around as long as there's been network marketing and indeed business in general, is begin by making a list. So you need to get organized about this. This really is the only area of your business you need to be supremely organized, okay? Now, people will tell you, as indeed they've told me many times, that they don't know anybody, okay? They've been living in a hermit for most of their 50 years on the planet, like a hermit, for most of their 50 years on the planet. They have never met a single human being, so consequently they don't know anybody. Well, we both know how likely or unlikely that is. What they're really saying is, I don't know anybody who would want to do this as a business. And that is one heck of a comment. I don't know anybody who would want to do this as a business. Okay. You see, I should actually put another line in here before I tell you how we make a list. Is one of the rules of network marketing is you're not allowed to prejudge another person. I mean, just think about this for a minute, if you would, because this is really quite important stuff. Imagine that your next door neighbor found a network marketing business and he decided, or she decided, to share this with the person who lived next door to them, but not you, the other side, just right. And this other person saw it and thought, that's great. And they got working together and they started building a team, and both the teams grew very big and they became very successful. And then 4 or 5 years later, your next door neighbor goes and buys himself a yacht because he can afford it. And he comes around to you and he says, hey, me and Bill next door, we just bought a yacht together and we're going to sail it from Sardinia to Mallorca across the Mediterranean. And we just wonder whether you'd like to join us. And you go, wow, that's amazing. How do you manage to afford a yacht? And Bill said, well, I found this business and I shared it with Bill, and Bill saw it immediately, and we built it together, and it's just been very successful over the last 5 years. Great. Matter of interest, why didn't you show it to me? And they turn around and say, well, I didn't think you'd be interested. Now, how does that make you feel, right? I think it's the biggest insult in the entire world. In fact, I think it's the only thing in the world that all human beings really detest on its fundamental level, and that is being taken for granted, either by another person or by a government or by anything. People make decisions that affect our lives without asking us first. And it does leave us all with a really bad feeling inside us. So I'm asking you, if you're going to do this business, don't make that decision for anybody else. You've made it for yourself. You've decided this is for you because we're having a new distributor training, but you can't make it for somebody else. So when you make the list, you are literally not allowed to prejudge a single person. And I'll tell you one other reason why you shouldn't. You could prejudge, say, me, as indeed many people did. When I first came into network marketing, I was told to make a list, and I made a list of 400 people, and I started calling them up. And the fourth person that I called was actually my sister-in-law, said, "What, you're in that company?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "I'm in that company." I said, "Oh, right, okay. You never called me." She said, "I had you on my list. You were absolutely top of my list, but I just thought you were too busy." So she lost the opportunity to sponsor me, and I turned out to be one of the good ones. So the point is that however big or however small person it is, or however much you do think they will or won't be good at this, do remember that they've got contacts of their own, maybe 5, 10, 15, or even 200 or 400 like I did. And any one person on their list could be your next regional marketing, regional director, national director, district manager, whatever it happens to be, whatever the position is. You just never know where that route is going to tell you. So rule, never prejudge a single person, okay? It's so insulting to them, and it's so maiming to you in terms of being able to grow legs in your business, okay? So when people say they don't really know anybody, I just teach them how to write their first 30 names down. Very simple. Start with 5 family members, then think of 5 friends, any friends. You're just writing names at this point, okay? Think of 5 people who share some of your interests. If you go to various clubs or meetings or card games or church or whatever it happens to is, think of 5 people who share those kinds of interests with you. You can also think, it's very important to write down the name of 5 people who own their own business. Now, you could, when you're writing business owners, select people who are one-man bands, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, all that sort of stuff. Or you could think about people who own a little shop business or something like that, Or you could think about people who own bigger businesses, people like myself 30 years ago, who had employed 11 people and managed 220 opera singers and classical musicians. But you need 5 people who are already entrepreneurs. And now the next 5 can be quite difficult for some people. 5 people whose success terrifies you. Think of people who live in much bigger houses than you, drive much nicer cars, take much more expensive holidays, seem to have wealth all around them, everything else like that, but people that you can nevertheless ring up and say hello to. Very, very good to have 5 of those. So you've got 25 on the list, and then you can then pick 5 from any of those areas, 1 from each if you like, and just add them on your list to create your first 30 contacts. Okay, now this list needs to be written on one of these. You need a little notebook like that, sort of with pages in it. So the list is a dynamic thing. It's the insurance of your future prosperity. What happens to new people when they do this business? And you know, Maxine and Julie, you can tell me if this happened to you. I already know what's happened to Claire. You start waking up in the middle of the night thinking about people who might do this. Has that happened to either of you yet? Yeah. Okay. The cure for that is not a sleeping tablet. I've got to tell you, the cure for that is keep one of these by your bed with one of those. Okay. When you wake up thinking of a name, just get it written down on the list. You'll go back to sleep immediately until you think of the next one. You wake up again. But the first week or 2 weeks of network marketing can disturb your sleep patterns because of the potential of what you've got your hands on here. I'm thinking of, you know, if this person does it, that person, and keep writing the names down on the list and get them out of your head. So that's how we write a list. Do you think that 10,000 people in your 6th generation could each write out 5 family members, 5 friends, etc., etc.? Yes, pretty straightforward. That duplicates. Now, the art of inviting. What's the purpose of inviting? This, by the way, is the only area in the business which will solve every single problem you'll ever come across. It was my 3rd mentor, a very, very, very successful and capable lady called Paula Pritchard, who said there is no problem in network marketing that introducing 5 new people will not solve. it's the universal paracetamol of of network marketing. But inviting is what makes us the money, okay? And if you're not inviting, quite frankly, you're not building. You're just not building. So what is the purpose of the invite? Now, a lot of people think inviting, what is the purpose of the invite? I'm not going to test your knowledge on this because it's very rare I get the right answer. So I'll tell you what the purpose of the invite is. The purpose of the invite is to have your contacts see a presentation. That's it, okay? So if I was giving you your first day of induction in a new job, my job would be to tell you what you need to do for the company. And the job here in this company is you're only inviting people to have a look at this. That's it. We are not here to convince. We're not here to sell. We're not here to, do any of that kind of hard sales stuff. We want to take people to Don Giovanni and we want to hear what they want to say about it afterwards. Okay, we're obviously going to guide it slightly. We're going to lead them in the direction that would help us understand whether they're going to say yes or no. But we're not here to pressurize anybody into this. We're here to find the people who are looking for us. So job description is we are contacting people and inviting them to see a presentation. Your job is finished when you finally hear me say, get back to the person who first invited you. If you've got any questions, discuss it with them. That's when your job is finished. That's when you've invited them. That's when they've seen a presentation. So people who come onto the presentation for 15 minutes and then drop off, you haven't done your job. People who see 40 minutes of a 1-hour presentation, you haven't done your job. People who miss 10 minutes in the middle, you haven't done your job. Just keep inviting them again and again and again until they've seen the entire presentation. And this is why, top of the list, and bear in mind we're in a lockdown at the moment, we can't invite people to a hotel room or hotel meetings the way we used to do it. So we have to invite people to Zoom presentations. it's much more powerful to invite them to a live one than to send them a copy of one that I recorded last month. I know it's the same presentation, but the whole point of my even paying Zoom so that we could do webinars is so that when people register, I can tell you when they came on, how long they stayed for, and who to follow up. I can see all that because Zoom records each person, that the details of when people join and when people leave off again. It also tells me who's coming, and I can tell you if your guest has actually registered. So we do webinars for presentations, which means that none of the guests can see the other guests. They can't be seen, so it's nice and private for them. And the only person they can see is the person doing the presentation. Okay? So if you can invite someone and have them see a presentation, you've done your job. Then they can say it. You must have no thought of an outcome. No sitting there going, oh, I hope he joins, or I hope she joins, or oh, I really think she'd be great, or whatever it is. Forget all of that. That'll just lead you to the emotional roller coaster. Unless, of course, somebody loves roller coasters, that's fine. But no thought of an emotional outcome. Sit back, relax, let somebody else do the presentation or do the work. It'll be you soon enough. You'll be doing presentations. Just thought I'd throw that in. But no thought of an outcome. And let your people sort themselves into or out of this business. People are very slippery. They have a multitude of ways of telling you they're not going to do it, all of which are just a smoke screen, okay? And you have to be able to look through the smoke screen and be able to ask the question. I love this question. Is this your way of telling me no? Just write that question down. Is this your way of telling me no? Okay. I'll come back to that a little later. And if I forget to, for God's sake, remind me. Okay. So let's go on to the art of inviting. Let's look at the mechanics of an invitation. Now, with people this is the way I would go. First of all, be in a hurry. Do not spend 5 or 10 minutes talking about the weather, somebody else's wedding, who's doing what to whom, and having a general chit chat. Remember, you may not be training duplication, but duplication only copies what you do. It doesn't copy what you say. So I can talk perfect duplication, but can I do it? Because you will copy what I do, not what I say. So in a perfect invite, be in a hurry and remember that all you're trying to do is to clear a date. You're really trying to find out, if you live in the UK, Saturday morning at 11, Tuesday evening at 7 p.m., Thursday evening at 7 p.m. So it really doesn't require much of a question when you get there. It's very important when you're asking this to sound excited. Get yourself G'd up before you make these phone calls. Really sound excited, because people will buy much quicker from the tone of your voice than what you actually say. Somebody once said you're attracted to the sizzle rather than the steak. And so be excited. And then when you've got the date, make sure you confirm it. Okay, it's really, really important. That is the bare bones of a good invitation. So if I was inviting, I suppose the next presentation will be Tuesday, it would be, it says inviting for a 7 p.m. call today. So if I was doing this on Tuesday, I'd say, oh, hi, Julie, it's Tony here. Look, I'm in a bit of a hurry because I've got to go and give somebody a training in 5 minutes, but I just want to ask you a very quick question. Are you free at 7 p.m. today? It's a pretty straightforward question. You only get one of two answers. You're going to get yes or no. If they say no, say, okay, doesn't matter. I'll call you back. I'll call you back a bit later when I've got a bit more time. Okay. And you say, yeah, okay, goodbye, click. Now, I guarantee you that Julie is on the receiving end of a call like that is going to think, what the heck was that about? That's exactly what we wanted to think as well. Now, Julie, on the other hand, might turn around and say, oh, great. She says, yes. I say, that's great. Listen, there's something you simply must see. I'm going to send you a Zoom link, right? I want you to register as soon as you get it, and I'll join you on that call at 7 p.m. tonight, okay? Now, Julie might be just quick enough to get whacking a question there. What is it? What's it all about? Which is the most feared question a new person can get, and the most delicious question an experienced person can get. Because when somebody asks what it is, what they're asking for is more information, which is just what we want to give them. So let's give it to them in the right way. You don't want to try and tell them over the phone what this is, because that's like trying to describe your haircut. It's just never going to work. I had this bit straightened and then there's another curl down there. No one could do it. They need to see the haircut. All right. Just say, look, I'd love to give you all the information, but remember the first line of inviting? You're in a hurry, aren't you? I'd love to give you the invitation. I'd love to give you the invitation, but I'm literally got to go and train this. I've only got 1 minute now, so I've got to go and train this guy. It'll all be explained tonight at 7 p.m. That is the perfect invitation. Okay, it's perfect. And you know why it's perfect? Because you didn't say anything. You created something called curiosity. And curiosity is our way of bringing people to see what's going on there. Now, there are, of course, exceptions to this, because we're dealing with people and people are so gregarious. You could be talking to somebody that you haven't spoken to for 5 years or 2 years or something like that, in which case you can't ring them up after 2 years and go, hi, look, I'm in a bit of a hurry, but you wouldn't do that. That is going to take another kind of conversation, which I'll cover with you a little bit later. Okay, well, I'll cover it with you now very simply. When you're talking to somebody you haven't spoken to for a long time, or indeed when you're speaking to somebody who you've only just met, a cold contact, as we call them, you've got to warm them up first. So what I always encourage people to do is to become a master of asking people questions. Now, some people formalize this in something called form, where you ask about their friends and their work and their whatever. I can't even remember what form stands for, because it's something I do quite naturally with people. If I had a chat with Julie for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, I would know an enormous about her life at the end of that, because I just ask questions. And the one thing people love to do is they do like talking about themselves and what's going on. But even more importantly, when you're asking questions, whatever answers they're giving you, make sure you kind of like go with the flow, that you compliment them, because everything that's happening in somebody's life is a result of their choices. And the one thing you don't want to do is tell them, you don't want to say you're a total dumb bimbo to have done that. I mean, that's just going to make them feel really bad. So, if they say, well, I'm working in nail manicurism. Well, I had that the other day with somebody. I said, that's great. It requires a lot of artistic skill, doesn't it? I mean, how long does it take you to learn that? And then they start sort of chatting to you about it, and they sort of feel like you're on your side, because you need to get people to like you, I suppose. But the way they like you is you like them first. So always warm them up first. Now, what you want to slide a little bit later into the conversation about the nail manicurist is, so what is it you like best about what you do? It's just, oh gosh, I meet lots of people, and sometimes they really like the designs I do. I love the little intricate paintings every year. That's great. What do you like least about what you do? Well, quite frankly, the hours are unbelievable. They're so long, and the pay isn't that good either. And you say, oh, right, okay, everything else like that. And then just say goodbye, just go. Now, when you call them back the next day, there's somebody you know. So the call is going to get something like that. This is going to say, I was thinking about what you said about your job and how much you like meeting people, but at the same time, how little pay you got. And if you can add in something about travel as well, if they've told you about they'd like to spend more time traveling, just say, look, if I could show you a way where you could meet lots of people, but also avoid the low pay area. In fact, you could just have an unlimited sort of income and travel a lot more as well. Would that be of interest? It's a designer question. It's a question that's designed around what they told you. And everybody says yes. You say, great, what are you doing at 7 p.m. tonight? And you're into your script. You've got to arrive at that first line. Can you make yourself free at 7 p.m. tonight? No? Okay, look, it doesn't matter. I'll call you later when you've got more time. Yes, great. There's something you simply must see. I think you would be brilliant at this. If Sharon was on this call, this is exactly what she said to Rose. Was it Rose or Ruth? I get one or the other. And Ruth, I think. And Ruth keeps telling me that Sharon kept talking to her about a point of view that she felt would benefit Ruth. It wasn't about Sharon, and Ruth felt really good about that. And so when she looked at it, when I said to her in the three-way call, "Are you ready to get started?" She said, "I was ready to get started before I spoke to you." That was her reply. So this area of inviting is one of the areas in network marketing at which you're going to have to become really good at. I like people to go out there and mess it up something chronic. Mess it up with hundreds of people. I don't care. There's hundreds more, there's thousands more, there's millions of more. You never run out of people if you know what you're doing, especially if you've got one of those by your bed, okay? You'll always be able to have people on. But you can always go back to people you've messed it up on. Indeed, I was messed up when I was introduced. So my friend actually, it was never as succinct as I explained it. He actually, after 3 weeks after having done the worst presentation you've ever seen in your life and didn't get me in, rang me up and said, "I didn't do a very good job at that presentation, did I?" That was what he said to me. I said, "No, not really." He said, "Great. There's another guy I want you to meet." And he put me in front of somebody who knew what he was talking about. So you can always repair the mistakes later on. Okay, does that help? Yeah, is that good? Okay, fantastic. So the next thing you've probably all done is, have you all downloaded the Travel Advantage app? Yep. Yes, no, Julie has not. So Julie, if you can turn your microphone on just for a second.
Sure.
You
Yes.
have an iPhone or an Android?
I have an iPhone.
So you need to go to the App Store
Yeah.
and download the app called Travel Advantage. 2 words. Okay?
Yep.
It's free. Download it, install it, and your login and password is the same. Your login is your email address that you used when you signed up with MWR, and the password was the one that you chose when you were signing up. So if you can remember those, download that app. The other app, which is called MWR Life, that's your business app. Okay. Also, you get from either the App Store or from Google Play. You can download that one as well. And if you choose to activate it, it's free for the first month, and then it's $10 a month after that, just so you're clear. And you can run your entire business with that app. Okay, so those are the 2 apps. But that second one is entirely your choice. Okay. That really completes the first part of new member training. Now I'm going to go into the second part, because there are only 2 areas in network marketing that people consistently mess up. The first is the invite, because they don't remember the structure, okay? And they take too long, they say too much. Anybody here done some invitations where they found themselves trying to do the entire presentation down the I'd be surprised if you hadn't, right? Because people will ask you that question, and you've got to learn, as I do, say, "Oh, it's great that you're asking questions." What I said earlier about, when we're talking to people and they're telling us what decisions they've made in life, and you've got to go with that. In fact, it's a great thing to do with everybody, is to learn how to go with them. Because if you ever, I'm actually explaining one of the theories of Carl Jung, which is actually called the mature relationship, and is based on a book written by Professor Anthony Storr, who's professor of psychology at Cambridge University, called The Integrity of the Personality. And he praises the work of Carl Jung. And he talks about how people learn, because learning is the origin of everything, right? And you learn not by agreeing with somebody or having them agree with you. You learn by appreciating the area of difference between where they are and where you are. Because the area of difference, this is an actual formula that Jung wrote, the area of difference is equal to the area of learning. That's how people acquire information. So remember, when you're trying to educate somebody about MWR, a good place to start is right where they are at the moment. So you put your arm around them. So after the presentation, okay, which is the next thing we're going to do, we have got to not make the terrible mistakes that people make in the invitation, where they try and explain everything because they haven't been able to use the duplicating system. As I said, when somebody asks you what it is, just say, "Great that you're asking the question, but as I mentioned, I'm in a bit of a hurry, okay? And, I've got to go. But everything will be explained and you just confirm the date. Section 4 of the invitation, you just reconfirm the date, okay? You will mess it up, but the more you do it, the longer you do it, the better you'll be. After the presentation, this is danger area number 2, okay? This is all scripted. This is all, but you can make it sound very natural. Ask what they like best. You've all heard me do this if you've done 3-way calls with me. I said, great. What you saw the presentation. What did you like best? Was it the travel? Was it the money? Was it both? What did you like? And they always tell you, always. I mean, I just did this with Peter Saunders this morning with a Brazilian chap. And he said, oh, I like the money. I like the money. Whatever they say, just agree. It's all right. Agree. Me too. Absolutely. It's the travel. Great. Me too. I like both. Yeah, me too. It doesn't matter. Just agree. It's a nice thing to do. Okay. There's an age-old rule in sales, although we're not in sales. When 2 people reach agreement, you close immediately. You close there and then. Me too. Great. Are you ready to get started? That should come out within I mean, as I said, this happened with me and Ruth when I said, was it travel, the money? She said, I like the whole thing, it's really great. I said, great, me too. Are you ready to get started? She said, I was ready to get started before you came on the call. So I said, okay, well, in which case, I'm going to hand you back to Sharon and she's going to register you. Or would you like me to do that for you now? I can do it for her on her behalf. She said, let's just do it. And we were done in a few minutes. So ask if they're ready to get started. Now, does anybody know the rule about what you do when you ask a closing question? Are you ready to get started? I know Maxine does because we went through this the other day. But the answer is you don't want to use an expletive. You shut up, all right? Just shut up, all right? The first person who speaks loses, always, always. So when you ask if they're ready to get started, I want you to be able to sit there for half an hour and never say another word if they don't speak first. It'll never happen. They'll speak after 5 seconds, 15 seconds. But it's a very, very famous story, which I'll just regale you with. Very famous trainer in the 1960s called Dougie Edwards used to go around big corporations teaching their sales forces how to close the deal. And he would explain about the 9 different kinds of closes there are, the alternative close, the puppy dog close, this one sort of thing, all these sort of things. But he said, the important thing is, before I teach you about the closes, is you've got to know what you do when you close. He says, and he yells at the top of his voice, you shut up! The first person who speaks loses, okay? And one time he was doing this training and the CEO of the company was listening to this. Next day, the CEO calls Dougie up to his office and he said, Doug, I've got to tell you a story. He said, I listened to your training yesterday. I heard what you said about closing and shutting up. And he said, today I had a young salesman in to see me. He's been in the factory all week. He was putting together $1 million component order. And he came today to close the deal. So he pulls out his pink piece of paper. He said, I've got everything that the company wants. This is what we've discussed over the last week. Could I get your endorsement on this piece of paper? That was his close. He said, you know what, Doug? He said, I remember what you said. So he said, I shut up. Even though I was the buyer, he said, I shut up. And you know what he did? He said, he shut up. And we sat there for 25 minutes and neither of us said a word. He said, and you know what, Dougie? He said, I just laughed. And then, you know what, Dougie? I bought. He said, I laughed, I bought, because he was the first person to break the silence. The reason why you always shut up after the close, why you never say another word is they can only do one of 2 things. They can say, yep, let's go, let's do it, in which case you sign them up. Or they can ask another question, okay? Now that question is going to need an answer. And when you give them the answer, good person will say, do you understand that point? They say, yes, great. Are you ready to get started? And you shut up again. And you can keep repeating that again and again and again till they eventually got all their questions answered and they say yes, okay? So it's always the same point. Now, If they say yes, go to your join page and sign them up. Do you all know how to do that? No. Okay. So, Claire, I believe you you introduced both Maxine and Julie, didn't you? Well done, Claire. So, in a separate training, Claire, you can take.
I can show them.
What?
I can show them.
You didn't. Okay.
No, I did it with them online, so they saw me sign.
I saw they do it.
I could have a separate conversation and sign them up and show them.
So are you both aware, Julie and Maxine, that you both have, you received an email from the company saying that you both have your own business website? Have you actually been to that page? You've never been to it. Okay. So if I just for a second, reduce this and just go to here. This is my dashboard. How about that? I was saving this up to watch to show you this. Watch this very carefully. Watch that $40. Don't take your eye off that $40 because I haven't upgraded it today. Woo! Isn't that great fun? You get the idea, don't you? It's just lovely. All right. Okay. So this is this is your back office. That you've all seen that page, haven't you? Yeah. Okay. Look at the top on the right here where it says. Yeah. See the top on the right where it says join now. You just click that. I'm trying to click it. Oh, there you go. It'll take you straight to there, and it says your sponsor is Forward Marketing. That's me, and you can see it's mwrlife.com/James K. That was the handle I chose for myself, /join. I suggest you all click on your join page and bookmark it. Okay, really the fastest way. And then there it is. And you can put the ticks in or out of the boxes, depending on what people want. And then you click here to continue your enrollment and then just take them through the form. Okay, is that straightforward? Pretty straightforward, jolly good. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay. Go to the join page. Now, this Julie is where you're making your first error, okay? After the presentation. If people say, I have questions, okay? You need to alert your immediate manager. In your case, it's Claire. Claire isn't available, alert Peter. Peter's not available, alert me, all right? If, on the other hand, you feel there's a particular person that would be best talking to somebody that might not be clear, we don't mind who you do, but always remember the higher up you go, the more people that person has to look after, okay? So they can't always be, you know, I can't go to Kiara all the time because she's a regional manager. And I'm quite happy to use Peter in my own business, even though I sponsored him. I can make him the expert. I can use Claire, I can make her the expert, doesn't matter. If somebody has questions like Patrice, it's not your job to answer their questions. I'm not saying you can't answer them. What I'm saying is Patrice needs to subliminally learn through duplication, that is through what we do, that there's a team here to answer questions, because the only two questions that are going through people's mind is, can I do this? Will you help me? Can I do this? Will you help me? I even say this in my presentation at the end. I say, you can do this. It's a question that you're asking yourself, can you do this? And the other is, are you going to help me? That's more important than anything else. More important than, you know, do I get a VIP member here? So if what you do is you just say to somebody, look, it's a great question. Hold on a second. Don't ask for permission. For God's sake, don't ask for permission. Just say, hold on a second. And then you just bring Claire into the call immediately. She's waiting for it because you've cleared the time with her. Like Maxine wrote to me after today's presentation saying, are you available to talk to one or two of the people that I had on the call today? And I said, yes. Okay. But if I wasn't available, I would be saying, no, Maxine, you want to try Claire, except she's got a migraine, so you could try Peter. Mind you, it's his birthday today, so I don't know what he's doing. But anyway, the point is this: you diarize the time after a presentation, at least half an hour, to bring your people in and have a third party answer their calls. Okay, that's really important. You remember this. Look what it says here. Do not miss out this step. Don't do it yourself. If you do it yourself, you're subliminally teaching that person they're going to have to do it themselves. And that's telling them, we're not going to help you. So show them the power of the team. Very important. Talk a little later about the power of the team. Initiate a three-way call. Really important. Okay. Now, the last part of a three-way call, and you've got to get good at this, and you've got to know a little bit of information about each of the people you use as experts on your three-way call. A three-way call is a triangle. So there's your triangle, which I'm showing it to you. And we need to address all 3 points of the triangle. Point number 1, you edify your friend to the expert. Okay? So talk about your friend first. Now, this is Patrice. This is what Patrice does. And say something really nice about Patrice. Point number 2, the second point, you edify the expert to your contact. Patrice, this is Tony. 30 years experience in network marketing, has built massive teams of people all over the world, has trained thousands and thousands of people, and there isn't a single question in this industry that he can't answer. That's the way I like to be edified, because it just happens to be true, right? But even if you were edifying Claire, Patrice, this is Claire. Claire has only been in the business a few weeks and has already made the position of manager. She's earning residual income. Therefore, she knows all the answers that new people have to answer. And I'd like to defer to her because I'm pretty new at this. And that makes Claire feel really great. The only thing Patrice will ever know about the person you're edifying is what you tell him. So make sure he realizes he's talking to an expert. Then the expert takes over, right? So that's probably on here. You keep quiet. You'll find this is a wonderful business when you start it, because it's not very much to say. You do most of it. A very good friend of mine said, a guide dog with a note in its mouth could probably do this business better than you could. And then people say to me, well, what's the note say? And it says, if you're free at 7 p.m. tonight, watch this presentation. And you say to the guide dog, well, what's it about? And he goes, that's all you're going to get out of him. So eventually your curiosity thinks, I better take this note and look at this presentation, because I'm clearly not going to get anything out of the guide dog. But anyway, the point is that you've edified the expert, okay? So you keep quiet, and the expert will do the third, the expert will do the third part of the edification process, because you've edified your friend to the expert, you've edified the expert to your friend, and the expert will edify you to your friend. You see, your friend may know you as somebody who cooks wonderful cakes, or walks the dog, or is something in the computer industry, or however they know you, but they don't know what you are in this business. So it's very easy then for the expert to say, well, it's very, very, very kind what Claire said about me, but can I just say that Claire's already one of our managers, and she probably could have answered these questions herself, but we do this way to show you that there's a whole team of people working behind you here ready to help you. So I'm going to edify Claire as well. So everyone gets edified, and that's a triangle. And you never want to forget the triangle. It's really important. So you then keep quiet, mute your microphone, let the expert close the contact. And what's the expert going to do? Hey, what did you like best about the presentation? Oh, well, was it the travel? Was it the money? Was it both? Both. Great. Are you ready to get started? If they say yes, fine. Or, they say, well, I've got a question. I was just wondering if it's this or that. And, so let's have a look at the kind of questions that we get after the presentation. Do let me know if you've had any of these. Okay. I don't have the time, or I don't have the money. Anybody had any of those? I don't have the time to do this. I don't have the money. Yes, that's the most common one. Do you remember what I told you right at the beginning? Network marketing can provide 2 ingredients for everybody. Do you remember what those ingredients were?
Time and money.
Time and money. Yes, okay. The way I deal with these when I'm the expert is I say, listen, I'm delighted you told me that, and then I will go into that creating pain scenario. How long have you been in that situation? What are you doing at the moment to create that situation? If you've got to do it for the next 5 years, is anything going to change? I want them throwing up by the time I've got them, to the end of that. Say, well, I think what Julie's been showing you here, right, is the ability to knock that one on the head forever. How would you feel if you never had to say to somebody again, I don't have the money, or I don't have the time? How would you feel about that? And they say, I'd feel great. Say, that's fantastic, good. Well, that's what's on offer here today. So are you ready to get started? We've got to change something, haven't we? Okay, the second thing you'll hear is this. It isn't for me. I hate this line. Yeah, you've had that one, Maxine. Okay, it isn't for me. So what's going on in my head when somebody says that to me? What exactly isn't for them? Is it having $15,000 a month? Are you saying that's not for you? You wouldn't like $15,000 a month? Well, no, I would like $15,000. Are you telling me you don't want time freedom? That's what's going on in my head. Might not phrase it that way because it's a bit aggressive, but I'd say, well, I wonder if we can clarify exactly which bit of this isn't for you, right? And I'll just say, look, what's on offer here is the ability to supplement your income. Let's say we can help you build a team to goal 5. You'll be making $15,000 a month, and you'll be making that whether you're working or not. So that'll free up your time. Which of those 2 things is not for you? Because I want to hear what the real objection is. What they might say is, I'm not for it. That would make complete sense. That one I go for. I'd say, okay, well, if you don't feel you're for this, that's absolutely fine. Would you like a guest pass? Get on. They might be concealing one of these objections. Is it one of those pyramid things? Anybody had that one? Again, I'd be absolutely amazed if you hadn't.
Can I just say, Tony, I had one of the people who was on today watched it with her partner, who apparently loves travel, is into bargains.
Yeah.
Said he wouldn't touch this with a barge pole.
Right.
And I haven't spoken to him, but I suspect that's his issue. Yeah. So I'd be interested. Yeah.
So what we need to do is a 3-way call with her and with him so we can get his question answered. It's just a question. So when he wouldn't touch it with a barge pole, people often throw I've had this told at me for 30 years. People will go on confusing network marketing and pyramid selling forever. There's nothing you can do about that. They couldn't be more dissimilar if they tried. The only thing that is common is that in both scenarios, the organization is built in the shape of a pyramid, right? As is every single organization in the world. There is no exception to that. I mean, if you think about Coca-Cola, how many CEOs does Coca-Cola have? Well, it's only got one. And he's got a bunch of, vice presidents or presidents underneath him of various divisions. And they've got a bunch of vice presidents. And those vice presidents have got a bunch of senior managers, and those managers have got managers. And then at the very bottom of the pyramid is the can of Coke. So, by the time it's moved through that whole scenario, the can of Coke, if you think about it, you can go to a hotel and pay £5 for a glass of Coke in a hotel, but probably only cost about 3p. That's a real pyramid, because all the money goes to the top and all the product goes down to the bottom. That's a pyramid, right? Far more pyramid than network marketing, which you build an organization, say 525, 125, 625, 3125, 15. You build that organization. But every single person in that business, where are they buying the product from? Where are they getting the membership from? But the answer is they all get their membership from the same place, the company, the MWR. Does the person at the top pay any more for the product than the person at the bottom, or less? No, they all pay $149 for business and pro membership or business and elite membership this month. So they all pay the same amount. Where does the money come from? Does it come from the bottom of the pyramid? No, it comes from MWR. They're not even in the pyramid. So the computer works out how much is due to each person. And that is why somebody in the 3rd generation can make far more money than somebody in the second generation. Because if Julie builds a bigger 3-leg team than I do, she'll make more money than I will. Fact, end of story. So it can't be a pyramid. Can't be pyramid selling. And so when people bring that up as an objection, first question I'm going to ask them is, what do you understand by a pyramid? Hello, Peter. Welcome. Been eating birthday cake, have you? Okay, so leave that to the expert. You don't want to be dealing with that kind of rubbish, okay? This one, I'll think about it. This is an unacceptable objection, okay? Unacceptable. Just tell me now, yes or no. I mean, I always say, is this your way of telling me no? I need to know, is this your way of telling me no, okay? Because if it is, tell me now, it's fine. I'll give you a guest pass and, you know, you'll have that and you can save up to 40% on 1.4 million hotels. But I don't want to be worrying over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 days about you sitting on the fence, right? Wondering, shall I or shall I? You've got enough information. Always remember at the end of the presentation, they've got enough information. Doesn't matter what they say to you. Don't buy into their story. You've got a very simple job to do here, and that's to get on with the next one and invite the next person to the presentation. So I don't want you waiting. Ask people that question. Is this your polite way of telling me no? Because it's absolutely fine. And if you keep it polite and you always keep it like that, you can say, well, think of 4 or 5 people who could benefit from those guest passes that I'm going to give you, or 10 would be even better. Let's write down their name of 10 people you know who can travel. Let's get a guest pass to each one of those. That's a wonderful, it gives you 10 new contacts, by the way. And here it is, written out for you. Do not try to answer any questions yourself, even if you can. If you do, you're teaching your new prospect how to fail. Duplication is very subtle, really is, takes no prisoners. Absolutely murder you. And I think, right, this is something I added in just recently, but, and I know that 1 or 2 of you have been in Landmark here. Julie, are you also a Landmark person as well? You are, okay. So I'm preaching to the converted here. The real benefit of network marketing, honestly, at the end of the day, it's not the money and it's not the time freedom. They're great. But the real benefit is who you will become on your journey from an active representative to a national manager on the platinum or diamond payment levels. To achieve teams of that size, your personal development it'll be phenomenal. And to all the Landmark people, I would say the same thing. You've been learning personal development, you've been learning leadership skills. But the only thing you haven't done with Landmark is you haven't necessarily attached those skills to a financial vehicle that will reward you. Now, MWR is that vehicle, and it utilizes all of those skills that you've been learning in Landmark. So you have an advantage over some of the people you'll be introducing in the future. Always remember this, your advantage in network marketing is your biggest hurdle, because you have it, but the person you introduce next week may not. So they've got to acquire it, right? And they will acquire it in this. You'll learn the philosophy behind all training. Learning, everything I told you earlier, this is the Jungian concept here written out for you. Learning leads to personal development. It also builds trust, relationships, and success. Learning is the system why. You'll learn about the system why, how, and then you'll learn, understand. This is the circle of expertise. If you learn, it leads to understanding. If you understand something, it leads to belief. If you believe in something, you can then commit to take an action which will produce a result, and that result will lead to learning. So if you go and make the wrong result, it doesn't matter, you just learn one way not to do it. And if you get the right result, you just repeat it and do it again. And that's how you become a genius at anything. It's the number of times you go around that learn, understand, believe, commitment, action, result, okay? For your network marketing business, I recommend reading these authors. John K. Lynch, who wrote 3 books, okay? Robert Kiyosaki, I think most of you know Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a phenomenal book. But there's an even better one out there, which I keep on my desk here. I think it's better. Let's call this one here the Cashflow Quadrant. That's his second book. Do you know this one? If you don't, buy it. Teaches you about the 4 ways in life people make money. They can be an employee, they could be a self-employed, they can be a business owner, or they can have investments. The only 4 ways to earn money in the world. This is the poor side of the Cashflow Quadrant. This is the rich side. And network marketing is right here. It's in the business sector. Okay. So read that. And then for those of you that have iPhones, you lucky thing, Julie, you can get something called, I haven't got my iPad here. There's an app called Self-Help Classics. It's free and contains something like about 80 books, all on creating wealth, personal development, all these things like Acres of Diamond, things like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. They're all in there. Okay. So just download the app and choose whichever book you want to read and read it on your iPad, your iPhone, whatever you've got. That's great. Okay. And that said, who is that? Okay, it brings us to the end of the new distributor training, which is great. Please turn on your microphones. Ask any questions you want, if indeed you've got any questions.
You said to remind you about, is this your way of telling me no? But that's what you've covered in I'll think about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. Max,
Thank you.
gone to sleep.
Okay, so
Oh,
yeah,
you're awake.
Screwed up the follow-up. So how do I repair the follow-up other than just say I screwed up the follow-up? Can I repair it with him? I mean, I can say that to him. He's also a landmark.
I'd like you to have a lot of fun with this, Julie.
Yeah,
There's no damage that's so great that you can't just say, actually I only joined the business two days ago and I immediately started by doing it wrong. Let's go back to the beginning. Now, what questions have you got? Oh yes, hold on a second, click.
Thank you.
Peter.
So I guess the other thing too is before I do a follow-up, I need to contact any of you to make sure that if we're going into a 3-way that you're available